Okay, we are back live. We are back live. Again, I apologize. The way this works is you won't be able to see me but the screen, or you'll be able to see me and not the screen. That's kind of the way it works. So we'll keep that in mind for the next live session if we're going to do any demonstration stuff, is that we need to do that instead. So I'm going to wait a couple of minutes, talk over a few things, let a few people come back in, and they are coming back in. I appreciate it. One of the new features, and let's kind of take a quick look at the video or the PDF that we have of the new features. One of the biggest things is this new dockable panel. This is a very nice little tool because you can literally put sections on the screen of different data pieces and look at it and peel it off and put it on a different screen. I know that most developers now use at least 2 screens. Some of us are crazy. I've got 8 screens. Pete's got a big screen TV basically with 6 screens on it. This allows us to be able to take data and put it, when we're working with clients and stuff like that, on multiple different screens and give us the best tool with it. So by using the dockable panels that they provided here, that allows us to do that. And that's one of the things I'm going to be showing today is dockable panels. The program that I have written is an older one. I've just converted it is what I did. I have this system to do SQL queries, so that way the customers, it's a little bit more controlled on my side, allows them to export data that they go do select statements and stuff from, as well as gives them a listing of different processes. And so what I've done here is created 3 different blocks, or 3 different panels. The 3 different panels, get a hold of the panel. One is there, and the other 2 is here and here. And I preset the panels to be in certain areas. You can see that it shows you the marks of where you can put it as you do this, and this is the same as a lot of places. So I'm going to put it up here, and that automatically drops this one down below. I can put that elsewhere if I need to. This one here, I need to put over here on the side, okay? So now what I've got is a nice little system to where everything is connected where it needs to be, and those panels can be moved around as needed, reset, and I've got to set my internal window correctly on this thing because I moved it. Just give me a second here. There we go. And what you do is inside this is you use internal windows or use another window. I'm sorry, not internal windows, but you can put an internal window control on it. But you set another window inside that, and that is what is run inside the panel itself. So the panel, to me, is a movable super control. As lack of a better term, and I'm sure everybody's used some super controls before it's over with. So it kind of reverts to me as being close to a super control, but you're able to drag it, move it, minimize it, do things like that wherever you need to. If you're running an organization that has multiple data elements that they want to see, or the guys looking at a panel for manufacturing environment, things like this, this is going to be an excellent tool for them to be a landing page a lot when they first come into the program to show them everything they need. I've got a program out there that I plan on switching to this that used to be the movable windows. I'm going to switch it to use the dockable panels, so that way it makes the user experience a little bit better, a little bit easier to work with. Underneath, like I said, each one of these are tables. They're already, I just threw a table control on this one directly, table control directly on this one, and this here is a tabbed a dynamic tab. I'll get the name straight. And the reason why I use dynamic tab is because it allows me to do multiple SQL statements at the same time. Now, one of the other features that was new to this is a JSON element, a JSON file element and or variable, which is great. So I'm going to take you into the analysis and show you this. The JSON variable here allows you to serialize arrays or JSON variants into this storage. So now when I look at the actual data, it actually looks like the JSON format if I'm going through the debugger. I don't have to expand it out and things like that, and so it's great. And so I used to have in this system, I used to have 3 or 4 files to hold everything for the SQL. I don't have to anymore. I basically go get from the connection, I go get all of the tables and then all of the columns within the tables. And then if they have triggers or stored procedures, stuff like that, I bring those in together and I just serialize it all and put it in that JSON variable. Now I can deserialize that and fill in all the data, which I'll show you how that works. Behind the scenes, as just a suggestion, is that if you do something like this, you've got a quick way to display data that you've already selected previously. That's what it's for. That's what it works for. If you're going to store the actual physical data in it, you can, but you got to remember that if you're doing that and you're running a multi-user system, you can run into some issues about the JSON data not being synchronized. So you need to keep that in mind if you're using JSON data. It's like a memo field in your in how you develop for an end user function, because it won't have row or record by record functionality for you to deal with. That doesn't mean you can't change it, can't store it, can't do things like this just like a record, because I do. But it is a single user or a single record type thing to work with. That's you know, just as a note. But it allowed me to reduce the amount of tables in my system for this one, because I didn't need to have the children records or the grandchildren records editable any other way. They would not be able to edit a column on a table without having the actual table selected in the first place. So it becomes moot. But I do like this, and it's fairly easy. Now, let's go through just a little bit of code on it, and I'll take you through this. WExpert uses classes. We primarily use a lot of classes and stuff to run our items, and some of the new ones that we're going to be going through as we move along is I'm going to be going through a multiple series of creating the classes, utilizing the classes, and why the classes are more stable and quicker when it comes to your development processes for Windows and things like this. So I want to take you through those too. So we'll be starting those. I'm going to go on vacation next week, so it's going to be a couple of weeks before I start them, but I'm going to be thinking about how to do it. And we're going to start from the basics. If you look out there in the units right now, there is 2 or 3 sessions that we brought over from Learn Worlds. Review those, because as you go through these classes that we're going to be putting together over the next few weeks, you're going to need to set up your system the same way. If you don't set up your system the same way, then you're not necessarily going to understand where I'm bouncing around on the screens and stuff, because it's just not going to be the same. So try to set up your environment the same or as close. I know that everybody has a preference, but try to set up the screens and stuff like that and see what you think. Okay, code here. In our class, we have a load children. So when I connect to a database, hyperfile or otherwise, I've got to tell it, well, exactly what do we have that, and that's based upon the connection, and then turn around and go get the data, or go get the columns for the tables that are there, get all the tables, go get all the columns for each table, and anything else, other data that I need. So what I have here is a connection. This is a class that holds the connection itself for whatever server I'm going into, and I'll give you a quick show of that before we get started. The next thing I want to look for is that table. Now that is that field, that JSON field. Now the JSON field, when it is empty, it is either shown as null if it's a new record, or it is shown as an array of 0 of JSON. Now that makes it a little bit strange, okay, on how to do this. So the first thing I got to check for is, okay, if I got a brand new record, I need to check to see whether that table data is null. If it's null, I'm going to skip by all this stuff so it doesn't blow up. Then I'm going to start selecting things. If I've already saved the record and at least gone through a little bit, then what I have to do is deserialize that and check to see if the tables are empty. So if I didn't get the data for some reason and come back, well, it's going to have an array of 0 of JSON. And if that's the case, I got to check to see, I got to deserialize it and check to see whether the tables are there. Otherwise, if there actually is data in there, it'll serialize it to an array of all the tables that we have, okay? The next step is, and we'll go through the hyperfile because that's what most people are probably familiar with. When you do, we're going to open the connection. We're going to set a record for the tables. We're going to set a record for all the columns. The next thing you have to do is you have to make sure you got a cancel of any external declarations right now. Get rid of all the externals and go from there and do an HList file of everything from that connection. What that does is gives me all of the tables for that connection in an HFSQL environment, okay? From there, I go get all of the records and I get all of the items within that. Two things that has to happen. I don't know whether or not that you've been looking at internal procedures or not. I've used them since version 23. These are nice because I don't have to have a completely different procedure to do anything. I can do it right here. What happens is that on the internal procedure, you have to declare external the file so that way it can look at the column names and give them to you. Then I call an internal procedure called build columns that comes down here and looks at every one of the columns that's coming back. And I set up the column names and information to it and fill in, depending upon the type, what it is. Okay? So now that gives me all the columns from Hyperfile, SQL Server, and my customer or whomever is using the SQL environment here can easily do select statements on there and pull data, which is what all this is for. I use it quite a bit, even though I already know MS SQL and Postgres, and some people just go ahead and like doing those. But this is a good way when somebody says, hey, I need to pull all the customers from Texas that have ABC equal true. Instead of writing a report and everything for it, I come in here and fire it up, do it, and generate the report directly from the results, or export it to Excel and send it to them, which is what I do. Excuse me. Same thing applies to MS SQL or Postgres. There are select statements that you can see here that you can get off of Google as an example that fills this out. Obviously, if you want this program for version 22, I got a couple little bugs in it, but I'll be glad to post it up here with the link, and everyone can have it. It doesn't bother me at all. We do not believe in proprietary at W Experts. We're willing to share most anything, and if you don't understand it, you can always ask, and we'll help you understand what we're doing. But the SQL statement gets executed. It does the same thing and comes back and updates and adds all of that to the array already set up, off and running. So that kind of gives you a kick on all this. Now let's look at what it's doing. If we look at these, you'll notice that down here at the bottom on the analysis, I've got several different tables that have came up. Now these have already been pulled by the JSON environment, so it's instantaneous. If I pop it over here to this, I've got all the tables, and this one here is Postgres. This one here is HS SQL. So both of them just immediately show up. In the background, what I would do, and that's the next step that I'm going to do before anybody gets to see this thing, is I will then actually run through the array in the background using parallel task execute, which is another nice little feature that PCSoft has provided in the last couple of versions, and double check to see if any of the tables have changed. Okay, it's the same thing that you would need to do in the actual application if you're showing data from your data files to as a customer list or something like that to to the end user as a user experience. What you should do in the background using parallel task execute is basically go through ever so often and refresh each row. And the way to do that, easiest way to do that, well, I don't know about the easiest, but one of the ways to do it to give the best user experience is looping through each row, using parallel task execute, see if anything's changed. If it has, update it. If not, don't. Okay? That is a good way to do it because it doesn't refresh, doesn't flash on the screen. Okay? And as we do this, and as we go through with all of our functionality through the steps of our learning tools, I will be showing you how to do that. So we've got a lot of things coming on in the future that you're going to like. A lot of things to learn to give a good user experience to the end user, as well as ease of development on your side. Pete does the same thing on the WinDev side, and he will be showing and teaching you to do that as well as possibly even using common data between both. One of the other things we use is multiple configurations, and I'm going to show you that here in a little bit, but the next live session that I do will be less of the CCS of this SQL, W Experts SQL, and more of a data-driven for this Budget Pro. And that is where we're going to go through each one of these processes. We're going to start rebuilding this or rebuilding something like this so that way everybody can see how to do that. I have been doing some select statements on here, and let's kind of go through this. If you haven't used the tear off tabs, then my suggestion is do so. This allows me to actually have two different selection areas as I go through. So I can do a select asterisk from BP budget. F5 kicks it off, and it gives me the records there. Okay. So let's do bank invoice accounts. Bank IMV accounts. I get a few more that way. Yeah, we got a few here. So now from here, I can just I can edit the SQL, I can export it to XML, export it to Excel, whatever I want it to do, as well as select certain columns. It does a build browsing is what it uses to do this with. But the tear off tabs allows me to actually tear off a tab entirely and move it to a different screen if I want to. The dockables allows me to take the entire screen off. And I've got the entire screen that I can move off to a different section. That's what it's for. So you can see I've got now the 3 tabs here, and I can hook this, and there is my screen again. Okay, drag it out, make it a little bit larger, and I'm good to go. That's the 2 feature sets that are, in my opinion, excellent for this type of tool. The second thing is that if I have this out here and I expand this, you can actually take these off. If you don't need this anymore, you have a minimize function that gets it out of your way as well, or even this one, you can minimize it as well, and it brings back the other one. So it's kind of a flip switch between the 2 is what it is. So minimizing that lets me just deal with the tables itself, and it's good to go. So that's the couple of 3 things that we've got currently that I've tested out and worked with a little bit and discussed with PC Soft, as well as now you can see what it looks like. The development environment has changed slightly, so let's take a quick look at that. I really like the way it now is set up from the project management section. This stayed the same, but the other part that changed, let me see here, I think I can. Let's display the dashboard. Okay. I'm going to close this and show it from the beginning because I think it's a pretty nice little system bit there. So let's close this application. I'll bring it back open when I'm done. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them because I can see. Okay, I got a couple questions in there. If anyone can translate Haim, I'd appreciate it. I'm sorry, it does not do automatic translation, so I'm not sure what that means. 24 beta release should be within a month. Final release is at the end of May, usually. First week of June is usually when the final release comes out. They don't have a specific timetable. I'm giving you approximates. They will announce. They may have it ready to go earlier. Who knows? But I know that 99% of the time it's towards the end of May, and they usually keep special pricing till the end of May to sometimes towards June. So the special pricing, if you start seeing the beta coming out, then you need to kind of take a look at that and see whether or not that you need to get it as quickly as possible before the special pricing comes out. Here's the new features that I like about 24 that's not in 23 at the moment. What they've done here is created a last fact. So you've got different things that's come up from PC Soft that they're sending to you as a posted message, so that way you can read them through. You got things from the forum, as if things that are having problems, maybe answers and things directly from their forum, as well as facts on how to fix the error WinDev expresses found in monitoring, how to avoid certificate error using the email start SMT. I've seen this change once, so it is being updated. I think that this is an excellent landing zone for when you first open up WinDev 24 and take a look at it. The other thing that they've done is that you can literally run all 3 products now out of WinDev. Without leaving this IDE, I can edit WebDev, I can edit mobile, I can use all 3 of them. I can set up a project that has 3 different configurations, one for WebDev, one for mobile, and one for WinDev. That's something that we're going to go through in one of our next live sessions, is that itself, is we're going to go ahead and take a look at starting off this from the beginning, building an application. The application after each session will be uploaded and updated so everybody can see how far we went. And you'll be able to get it and look it over in version 24 as we move forward. All of the classes that we use, all of the functionality that we use within the system to make it have a good user experience will be embedded into it, and you have the opportunity to pull that down and utilize it yourself. Absolutely enjoy yourself. We don't care. So open a project. Now that starts looking like the same as what we've seen before. You got Pin project as well as your SCM drive and the PCS cloud up there. You have a search. All of that is the same. So I go back into it. It brings it up. It opens and runs a little faster. It's not. It is a little bit faster than 23. Obviously, it kind of depends on your machine, but it is running a little bit faster on it, which is great. All the data kind of shows up. I think that's what they did is they used their own JSON deal to do this. But it gives you a very nice interface, which for anybody that hasn't had 23, if they're older, this is the new format of the interfaces we got going. Okay. Telemetry is also there. I don't know if anybody uses, but that'll also be on our list of how to use the telemetry. I'll have Pete go through how to install telemetry if you don't have it installed. Things like that as well. We got about 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes, and then that's about as long as we got on this, about 30 minutes a pop. If there's any questions, let's get them posted now so I can answer them. And I will be glad to show you. One of the other things that I want to kind of show you also is they have token controls. So now what you can do is pick different ones, and it puts tokens up in the area to save versus not. That is good for multiple choices and things like this, because you can put in the multiple choice and then kill one off by hitting the little X and it's gone. I like that. They put in a few nice little features of clickable control. So you have lighting, which you slide over, slide back. Some new controls doing that. They have one of the things that I also like is now the document editor, or the document is internal, and I've got a demo of that coming, so that way those that want to use the document functionality inside of WinDev, you'll be able to do that. And I've got it set up to use tokens. I've got it set up to use, and what I mean by tokens is it searches and replaces the token with data, like a mail merge. I've also got it set up to where you can edit the tokens with a form, things like this. So there'll be a lot of functionality in that area that should be interesting to look it over. Now we're going to wait till we got a few things in there, because that's got to be a little bit more advanced functionality, but we're going to be going through it with the word processing control. They've added in the word processing control management of columns. So you can create a table with data inside your word processing control, and then if you click on one record or one row out of that, you'll be able to actually edit that row. So I'm gonna be experimenting with that, trying to figure out exactly how that works, and we'll be showing that off as well before it's all said and done. As far as showing everything with version 24, this is going to have to be a little bit of a balancing act. I'm going to try to get out as many features as 24, so we're going to be bouncing from simple to advanced, things like that, all over the place, and then we'll start our actual development cycle training from here forward to pass on all of the things that we've learned, as much as we've learned, and if anyone else has suggestions of what they want to see or look at, or if they already, if they have a demo of something that they've developed and they want to show it, let me know. Post it up on Facebook. We'll take a look at it, okay? Got no problem with that. Spreadsheets have been enhanced. But like I said, you probably get all this in Deal. And this is one thing here that we're going to go through. Right now in the same WinDev, and you can see from this image, and I have tried this, it does work. I can take this page or this screen and I can translate it directly over to a WebDev screen or WebDev page and show it. Of course, you want to adjust it for the web versus desktop, but it gives you all of your fields and controls and everything on there. The second thing that you'll be able to do is just like they're doing here, take the actual button control and drop it over on the web page inside the WinDev environment. Okay, now you think about this. There used to be a gentleman that used to run around doing one thing. He attempted saying that he could take a WinDev program and take it straight through WebDev and it would run. Well, that wasn't quite as easy as he thought it would. This comes a lot closer to that end result. This really comes a lot closer to that end result. So this is something that I'm going to enjoy. Pete will probably have mixed emotions about it because he's a web dev guy, and the idea of putting desktop on web dev, he's not real fond of the idea. But it is great to be able to use the same environment without having all three open at the same time and bouncing between things like this. It's great to be able to utilize it within the same one. Okay. I am over about a minute, almost 2 minutes. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hopefully this kind of gives you a little preview. We will be doing another preview of 24 as soon as I get another set of windows ready to go. And we'll be doing that all the way through until release, as we know more. Once you get the PDF file, once you get this WX24 PDF file in your email from PCSoft, if there's certain things that you're looking at and say, hey, I would like to see this, again, post it up on our Facebook. We will put it in our list of things to put together to use, and we will show how it works and go from there, okay? I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you. I'm glad everybody has moved over, for a lot of people has moved over from Google Plus to Facebook. It is unfortunate that Google Plus decided to kill off all of the communities over there, but we had to go someplace where I could get 3 for 1, in my opinion. I could do chats as well as face, as well as this live sessions. Okay. Again, thanks for everybody being here. Appreciate it. This will be online. Talk to y'all later. Be good or be good at it.